Coming up next on Giants Chronicles Podcast, Episode 3, we're talking all things Daniel Jones' 2022 season and his future with the New York Giants. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Giants Chronicles Podcast, Episode 3, and I have a special guest with me. Danny, how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, buddy. How are you?
I am doing great. We're talking Daniel Jones and his future. So, first of all, let's start with Daniel Jones' season. What did you think of Daniel Jones' season? Without saying any stats, I'm going to pull those up real quick, but what did you think of his season overall?
He did an awesome job. He proved me wrong. I was one of his biggest critics. Like you know that I was his biggest hater.
That's why I brought you on. I mean,
So I was very critical of him. Like I was like, he's done. He's dead to me. That type of thing. But this season, he really opened my eyes. He really changed my train of thought. You know, his play. He used his legs. And like I said, it's all about coaching. He had better coaching this year, so all around him. So he improved a lot. Turnovers were down. So, I mean, right now it's question mark how much we're going to pay him.
Right. We'll get into that a little later. So right now we're just going to talk about his season, though. To me, something a lot of people hate on the Maras. Shoot, I'm blanking, but our owners, the Maras,
the Mara family.
The Mara family. A lot of people hate on them. I, on the other hand, I've always backed the Maras because I feel like a lot of it was Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge making those decisions,
right?
And the Maras kind of just rolling with it, kind of thing. But this time, when I heard John Mara after they fired Joe Judge, I felt like he had a fireness to him that, like, I'm going to get this one right. Like, I am. And I mean, the Joe Shane hire, just for an example, that was, that Joe Shane came from a talented Buffalo team who was in they had a lot of problems when Joe Shane got there with Brandon Beane, and they built that organization. And I believe it was turned around in like a couple years, 2 years, I believe.
Yeah.
A couple years. So that, to me, that Joe Shane hire was like, all right, now we have our foundation. Now we need to get our head coach. And then they brought in Brian Daboll, who is a quarterback guru. He knows offense. And if you remember, the last time Daniel Jones had a head coach that was offensive minded was, what's that? Pat Shurmur. And that was his best year of his career before this year. And I think it really, reinstill confidence in Daniel Jones. I think Joe Judge made him lose his confidence. Joe Judge kept saying what not to do. And, he would tell him what not to do instead of focusing on telling him what to do. Like, just go play your game, DJ. That's not what Joe Judge did. Joe Judge put restrictions on him, and you could see that he was playing stiff football. You could see he was just not playing like he wanted to play. So now let's talk a little bit of stats. So Daniel Jones had 3,205 passing yards this season. He had 15 touchdown passes. He had a low of 5 interceptions, which, by the way, was one of your harshest criticisms, Danny.
Yeah, if I remember. Turnovers.
Yes. Yeah. He massively improved those turnovers this year. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
heavy improvement, huge improvement.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, the improvement that he made. I mean, it was I thought the turnovers would go down, but then again, in training camp, it was just like
Dable lit a fire under Daniel. Like, I don't remember if you saw one of the games when he did
Tennessee.
That was a turnover when he got in his face like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Right.
Screaming in his face.
And the rest of the turnovers, if you remember after that, weren't really Daniel Jones's fault. Brian Daboll only lit him up for that one because that was clearly like a terrible decision by Daniel Jones. I mean, that was clearly. The other thing I want to bring up is that this was Daniel Jones's best completion percentage. He completed 67 passes, 67% of his passes this year. and that is his career high before this year was last year, which, by the way, people don't remember, but Daniel Jones was playing decent football last year. If you remember, before he went out on that injury, he was playing decent football. The interceptions were still a bit of a problem, but it wasn't as bad. You could see him getting better. Um, and, Daniel Jones also, he had the most passing yards in a single season of his career since his rookie year. He's had 3,205, which is a career best in passing yards. Unfortunately, I think what I would like to see translate to next year is the touchdown number. I know a lot of it definitely had to do with Saquon Barkley. I strongly believe that we force fed Saquon Barkley the ball in
too much.
Too much. Yes. I also believe we should have used Matt Breida, but that's a topic for another podcast. This time we're talking Daniel Jones. Yeah. I did feel like Daniel Jones's touchdown number could have been higher if they threw the ball more in the red zone, kind of thing.
If he had more targets too,
also if you see like that relationship between Daniel Jones and Brian Dable, I mean, it's just like Daniel Jones is like his son. Like it's literally
like a father-son relationship. Yep.
Yes, exactly. It's like a father-son relationship on that sideline, and and it's amazing to see. It's just amazing to see. So, but yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones, he also had 44. He got sacked 44 times this year. That is the most, or no, that's the second most in his career. And he's still played decent. He also had the highest QBR of his career with 60.8 QBR, which is ranked 6th in the NFL, which isn't bad.
Can't beat that. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Which QBR, for those who don't know, they basically take your stats, they put it into like a system, and it all generates your final average. So overall, Daniel Jones was dealing with weapons that were non-existent weapons. I mean, he had
Tell me about
Richie James, Darius Slayton was probably his best wide receiver. And I have Cowboys fans trying to tell me Darius Slayton's a wide receiver 1. No, he's not. Darius Slayton, I believe, had one of the highest drop percentages in the NFL this year. I remember they showed that stat, and that was just like, yeah, Darius Slayton's not a wide receiver 1. And it was crazy to see Daniel Jones, because a thing that Giants fans, as us, we always brought up for a defense to Daniel Jones was he doesn't have any weapons, and this year he overcame that problem. He overcame that. The Giants traded away Kadarius Toney, arguably who was their best talented wide receiver. It just never translated because he kept getting injured, which continued with the Chiefs, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy what Daniel Jones did with so little this year.
He did a lot. He made a lot of players better, to be honest with you. Like, look at Isaiah Hodgins. Like, we got him from, a practice squad.
Right. I think that's one of the most underrated moves that Joe Shea made. People like think that these moves were so like little moves, but really they weren't. Joe Shea was playing. He literally came out and said, look, we wanted to add veterans mid-season. To name some of them, the Dominic Sue, who ended up going to the Eagles, and Linval Joseph, who ended up going to the Eagles as well. Both were the Giants expressed interest in, but the money didn't match up because we had no money to work with.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine how far we would have? I think we would have gone way farther if we actually didn't work Dexter Lawrence. I mean, Dexter Lawrence is a 300-pound man, and we're playing him. We're playing him 90% of the snaps. You don't do that with your defensive lineman. I'm sorry.
You got to get him some help. Yeah.
You got to get him someone who can be a quality backup for you. You got to do that. And to me, that is a key priority in the offseason. But, my point is like, this team could have gone, I think, way farther if we had more money to play with. That's my point. And Isaiah Hodgins was definitely a huge contributor and someone that I can't wait to see in the future. Personally, I think he could be a wide receiver too. But, hopefully the Giants address that in the offseason.
I'm pretty sure they will.
I know Shane definitely has a plan, and that also ties into now what our second topic, Danny, is will Daniel Jones, what will Daniel Jones contract extension talks be, or contract be like? Because he's set to be a free agent as of right now, but I do not think he's hitting the open market. I mean, Joe Shane pretty much made it clear in his closing season-ending presser that he was not leaving. So Dan, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think? Did you watch that Joe Shane presser?
Yeah, I watched it from beginning to end. It's like it was giving me vibes like, yeah, they're all in on Daniel. Like they're
It
all in on
was,
him.
yeah, right, and
It was giving vibes, yeah.
it was kind of crazy because the other thing was like they were all in on Daniel, and then when Saquon got brought up, they were kind of like, oh, like.
I mean, I'm pretty sure like they're gonna bring back both of them. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it'll happen. But I think what's gonna happen, is they're gonna give the money to Saquon and they're gonna franchise tag Daniel.
And I think that's what they want to do. It's just Saquon's agent. I mean, they haven't even started talking to Daniel Jones yet, which is crazy to me. They're trying to get that Saquon deal done. And what I would like to say, I know this is a Daniel Jones podcast, but this is key. The Saquon negotiation goes hand in hand with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get that Saquon deal done, because then they can go to Daniel Jones's agent and be like, hey, we're going to give you this contract, or we're just going to tag you. Like, like
that's what I think they're going to do, because I mean, it's like Saquon was the main offense for a whole season. Like everything was running through him. Everything was running through him. So, I mean,
100%.
He deserves to be the first negotiating contract that they get done. I think they're going to get that done first.
I think it's not really against Daniel in any way. I think it's just because they know Saquon's going to be the harder contract to get done. Exactly. And they rather place that franchise tag on Daniel than place it on Saquon, because Saquon, here's the thing with Saquon. First of all, running backs don't have a long shelf life. If you're lucky, you get one big contract in the NFL as a running back. You get your rookie deal, you get your
second contract.
Then you get your big money in your second contract, and your third contract's usually like the end of your career, kind of. It's kind of a cheaper contract to end.
The veteran minimum, yeah.
Not necessarily that, but like $5 million, kind of around there. It's not, because you're getting older and your body deteriorates. It's a hard position to play body wise. You're getting beat up a lot. So, but yeah.
Did you ever think Daniel Jones was a day one or day two guy?
Like in the draft?
In the draft, yes.
He was definitely going day one, no matter what. He was going day one. I mean, if we took so I rest in peace. But if we took Dwayne Haskins, right, which I think is what you're trying to say, I think the Washington Commanders would have went to Daniel Jones. I do.
Okay.
I think it could have easily. It was going to go either way. I do.
But it was a bit of a stretch though, because I think he would have been there at 17.
Right. I think we picked him too high. I love Sexy Dexy, but
it was a stretch. It
was a bit of a stretch. Yeah. I would have rather Dave Gettleman I don't know. Again, we don't know what they're hearing. I mean, a lot of the draft is what they're hearing around the league about these prospects. Because we often jump to like we're talking about right now. Oh, there's picked him too high. Maybe Dave Gettleman and his office had an inside cue that, hey, if we don't get him here, we're not getting him at 17. You just never know what's going on in the league. I mean, as much as these reporters report a lot of things, they don't report everything. So
no, you can't believe everything they say either. So
right. It's actually funny recently because Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport are like going at each other. Like, it's so funny. Like NFL Network reporters, they all report things together. Like they always report with my colleague Tom Pelissett.
Yeah, they always give each other credit. Yeah.
Right. And so recently they taking jabs at each other. Like Adam Schefter's Derek Carr has. I know this is completely unrelated to Daniel Jones, but hear me out. Derek Carr has been granted permission to his team to talk with other teams, and then Ian Rappaport's Derek Carr has not been granted. It's just so funny because they're clearly going at each other, because every time one reports one thing, the other reports the opposite, and so it's very
competitive.
funny.
It's competitive. It's all of that.
Right. Because everyone wants to break the news. That's if you remember with I know this is going real off track, but with the Aaron Judge thing, some reporter posted that the it was the San Francisco Giants were signing Aaron Judge, and everyone went crazy. I mean, everyone.
Dude, I saw that tweet. I'm like, oh no, my heart just stopped.
Everyone went haywire.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. And then And then it turned out to be he was trying to get it first. I mean,
And it
it was
backfired on him.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But so let's get back to Daniel Jones though. So
Yeah.
I think here's what I think the Giants will do. If he's asking for that 40 million, I think they say heck no. I think that's heck no.
He's asking for 40 now. I thought it was 30.
Okay, so here's the problem. There's no in between on the quarterback market now.
Mhm.
I mean, with people like Dak Prescott getting $40 million a year, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, Dak Prescott's earning $40 million a year.
He's not getting
that.
that.
But Daniel Jones isn't, right? But that's what his. I'm just trying to tell you, like, the agent's perspective. This is going to be the agent's mindset. Now, the good thing is this agent, this particular agent for Daniel Jones, which people underrate the agent thing, and it's something I look into, and it's something I've actually learned from other beat reporters that have talked to me about it. The agent that Daniel Jones has is very close with the Giants organization. In a good way. They have good relationship. So that plays a key role in it. Usually they can come to an understanding with this particular agent. But again, I think when it comes to Saquon's agent is more of a devil than Daniel Jones's agent. But
I've heard.
Yeah. But you know, I think the Giants don't go over 37 million at max. I mean, I think that's where they're going to cap it off. And reports are saying that range is the key range for Daniel Jones.
Isn't that the tag, though? The tag is 30 million?
The tag is 34 million, I believe it came in at this year. So, but here's the thing. That tag is $34 million guaranteed, right? You can't play with a tag number. That's literally 34 million is that cap number. That's
so
your
he's
cap
basically, so let me understand this correctly. So if they tag him, that 34 million, he gets it automatically, right off the
automatically. And well, I don't know about
on top of the contract they give him.
Not automatically necessarily, but he gets it over the year. But that's a $34 million cap hit.
Jeez, yeah.
So like, but with if Shane gives him a contract, Shane can manipulate the contract to not have that big cap hit. You know.
I hope he does that.
What?
I hope he does that. You know,
that's what Shane's known for. He's known for manipulating contracts. I mean, that's what they did in Buffalo with Josh Allen, and that's one of the things I liked about him when we hired him is he can manipulate contracts to kind of not have that big cap hit, which is the reason I'm more pro signing Daniel Jones to a longer extension. I don't know about you, but I'm like sitting here like, do I really want to have that $34 million cap hit? I mean, Leonard Williams is already a $35 million cap.
I heard if we cut him, if we cut Leonard, and we're gonna save about 12 mil.
We're not. That Leonard's worth way more than $12 million. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
hands down, he's worth more than $12 million. I think what they'll do is they'll either restructure the contract again, or I think they'll extend him.
Gotcha.
Because extending him will bring his cap number down because it's like a brand new contract, basically. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how you can manipulate these contracts in the NFL these days.
Yeah, you can finesse him in so many ways. You can finesse him in so many ways.
And it's crazy because I think it would be more beneficial for the Giants to give him that extension with an out after year 2. I think that makes sense. I think they give him a 3 or 4 year contract.
I was going to say 3 or 4. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 3 or 4 with an out after year 2 if things go south, you know?
Right. You could do something like that.
What do you think is the sweet spot for Daniel Jones money-wise?
I would say I would say 4 years, 60 mil.
60 mil. All right. So you're thinking
like 30 per year, something like that.
30 per year. All right. That's respectable. Yeah, that's respectable.
Like 4 years, because it's gonna be 4. Okay, yeah, about 4. Yeah, about 4, 6. Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, you're not giving him like a 6-year that's ridiculous.
That's not out of the question.
You're not. Yeah, that's crazy.
No way. No way.
I think. Oh, whoa. I think another part of the negotiation will be, look, I'll come play for you. but you've got to get me some help. Like,
No, he needs it for real. Like
yeah,
he needs it. Like if
like
he's gonna be our quarterback, if you're gonna invest in Daniel, there the number one thing you have to do is get him a big, huge target.
right. His agent's gonna be like, look, he has dealt with a crappy O line all 4 years. All 4 years.
I would just
He
go like that, say just like that to the Giants. Like, listen, he's been like this is the way you just said it. You have to
he's
do it like
never
that.
had a legit wide receiver one. Never.
Never.
Golden Tate was the closest he had, and that was at the end of Golden Tate's career, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it just has never worked out for the Giants finding him a target. And I think the Giants kind of, in a sense, are going to have to present their plan to him.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely. To the agent,
like,
they have to be like the agent has to be like, listen, you guys are offering my client this deal. We're gonna
right.
take it, but you have to live up to your word that you're gonna get this man a wide receiver in free agency.
Not even necessarily in free agency. Just like tell us your plan, please. Tell us your plan. That's what they're going to want. And also, I think another underrated thing is Saquon Barkley going to be back? You know, like what if maybe Daniel Jones takes a smaller contract so they can pay Saquon more money, or Saquon takes a smaller contract so they can pay Daniel. You know, those two are best friends, really.
They're best buds.
Yeah, they're really close, and I think that's also it's kind of like Zeke and Dak, kind of in a way. You know, that relationship is so televised all over the place. You know, it's kind of like
that little bromance.
Yeah, and it takes and they take pay cuts for each other. Literally, they take pay cuts for each other. Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see how that turns out. But
I just don't want the Giants to have like a big three: Daniel, Saquon, and a wide receiver. I want them to have a big three next year.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
I think T. Higgins is in play. I don't think that's exaggerated. And I think it could be a draft day trade. I think it could be very similar to the AJ Brown deal.
I hope so, because I mean we need to make a splash, bro. We need to make a splash.
I mean, we're too many years of like failing to get a wide receiver. Too many. Really. The last time we had a legit wide receiver was Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
I used to love the Victor Cruz days. The Victor Cruz days were amazing. You know what I'm saying? Those days were great. Odell days were great. Right now, we need to find that big wide receiver, man. We need somebody. We need him.
Right. And like people are like Jordan Addison. I mean, Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I've heard about him.
But is it really going to translate to the NFL? That's the thing. It's like with T. Higgins, you know what you're getting.
My opinion is I would rather not draft a receiver.
Right.
What we drafting at 25?
25, right. And that's the other thing. We're drafting at 25. Like, you guys know, like, for us, we've been spoiled. We've had top 10 picks every year, so we're kind of like already know who we're going to draft. This year, we're at pick 25. It's so, like...
I would give that away for Higgins. I don't care.
Yeah, I would give that away. And you know the third round pick we got for Tony? From Tony?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I would give that, and I would say, this is what we got, and this is what we're going to give you. And I think they take that in a heartbeat, because contract negotiations have gone nowhere with T. Higgins and the Bengals. Absolutely nowhere. T. Higgins knows what his worth is. T. Higgins is like, look, this is just like the A.J. Brown situation. Mm-hmm. The Titans could not pay A.J. Brown. They couldn't. And what do you know? Here we are again.
And the Eagles are in the Super Bowl.
Right. And the Eagles are in the Super Bowl with A.J. Brown. And, you know,
sometimes you got listen, bro. You got to roll the dice sometimes. You can't stay put.
Right.
You can't stay put. You got to roll the dice, make it happen.
I'm all for young talent, but like T. Higgins is only 23 years old.
Dude is young and he's explosive.
Right. And he's been stuck in a shadow. Of Chase. He's had back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving.
That's what Daniel Jones needs. That's
you're gonna be like, this is what you guys said about Kenny Golladay. No, this is not what we said about Kenny Golladay. What we said about Kenny Golladay is Kenny Golladay. First of all, Kenny Golladay was advertised as the wide receiver one and one of the best. I think he was listed as the best free agent available on NFL Network. Not even kidding.
Around that time, yeah, yep.
And
we fell for it.
But he was coming off of a year where he had injury problems. if you remember. And so it'd be very interesting to see what the Giants do. But I don't think it's out of question to be like, look, like let's look into T. Higgins. I mean, seriously.
Or even like D Hop or something. Me personally, I would prefer Higgins because he's younger.
Right. Like with D Hop, I feel like it's kind of like, all right, we'll get a couple more years out of you. With Higgins, it's like we have 10 more years with you.
At least that's what they got to look at. Like Daniel's young. Saquon's young, but he's getting a little older, but that's a run.
And also when he comes, I would offer him, I don't know exactly what the Eagles offered AJ Brown, but I would offer him close to that. I honestly would. Also, you look at, then you go back, okay, so has Shane ever made a trade like this? Stephon Diggs.
There you go.
Yep. That's what they did to help Josh Allen. If you remember, they went out and got Stephon Diggs, who also similar situation to T. Higgins.
Minnesota couldn't pay him.
Minnesota wasn't going to pay him, and the Bills took advantage. I mean, it's so set up for the Giants to do something like this. It's not even real, but
it's right there for the taking, Gabe. It's right there, brother.
Right,
it's right there.
Right. But it's very interesting. And then like people tell me, oh, T. Higgins isn't going to be available. Well, you really think that the Bengals wouldn't take a first-round pick and a third-round pick for a player they're not going to be able to pay after this year anyway? No. No.
I'm pretty sure the Bengals will take phone calls.
They'll definitely take phone calls, no doubt. It's just a matter of what they – I think another thing is, how much does Joe Shane really want to pay him? Because he apparently wants an outrageous number, which I don't know what Cincinnati considers an outrageous number.
Did he mention a number, or is just saying like he's?
They're just saying it was to Cincinnati. It's outrageous, quote unquote.
Okay.
Which could mean they don't want to pay him wide receiver one money, which I think is what it means, or it's a situation that he wants to be paid best of the best kind of thing. Which. I mean, let's be real. If he wasn't overshadowed by Jamar Chase, he could easily have had 2,000 yards.
I believe this, that we need, like, even though our division is great, like it has improved a lot. Like it's no longer called the NFC least at all. Yeah. But right now, like it seems like every team in our division has a wide receiver. One. Right,
and or two.
Where that's what I'm saying. That's where we in that. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. You look at Washington; they have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson's a rising star. I'm telling you, that man is going to be something special. I watched him at Penn State. Mm-hmm. I wanted him. I knew that he was, and when Washington drafted him, heart was crushed. I was like, anyone else but you, anyone else but an NFC East team. That's like literally every year that happens. Same with Miles Sanders. Anyone else but an NFC East team. Like it was just crazy.
It would be amazing because like if we bring back, like I said, we have Hodgins, and if we get Higgins. That'll be something to look at.
That could be a special duo, if I'm being honest.
Right, exactly.
I mean, if you look at Hodgins, he had almost 500 yards, and he was only with us for half of the year.
Guy's a stud. He's a stud.
So what happens when he's with us for a full year and training camp? I'm just putting it out there. I mean, is it really that crazy to say Isaiah Hodgins can be a productive wide receiver too? Yeah, maybe you never heard his name before that. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, seriously, man's just scratching the surface. I'm telling you.
It's like if we get Higgins and pair him up with Hodgins, that's gonna benefit the topic of the night, Daniel Jones.
Yep. Daniel Jones for sure. But some wrap-up thoughts, like, Daniel Jones, I think he'll be back with the Giants, either franchise tagged or new contract. I don't want the Giants to reach, and I trust, because of what I've heard Joe Shane say, that he won't reach. And maybe if it's looked at a reach, maybe the Giants know something. Maybe they're like, man, we were holding this kid back because of the stars he had to work with. We were holding this kid back because his O-line couldn't hold up for long. I mean, you never know what's happening inside the building. So it'll be very interesting to see. But Danny, thank you so much for coming on tonight and talking Daniel Jones with me. I
No,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Yeah.
And again, hopefully we can have you on the program again soon.
Oh, dude, I would love to be on again. Thank you for having me, brother.
All right. See you. Peace.
Peace, brother.
All right, guys. That was Danny. Thank you, Danny, for coming on the show. Guys, that concludes an episode. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And we'll be back for episode 4 next week on Monday. So thank you guys for all watching. We'll have Super Bowl wrap-up thoughts, and that will be our Monday episode. So thank you all for watching, and let's go Big Blue.